Hi, friends. You got Renee Revere here at Mold Mending. Let's talk about Christmas trees and mold. I don't know if you friends can see the Christmas trees or the pine trees in the background here, but made me think of we have Christmas coming up, and I know a lot of you are already starting to think about putting decorations and your Christmas tree up. And those of us with mold illness, to be honest, we can't just think simple with Christmas and assume that what we bring into our house is going to not affect us, because what I have learned is those lovely trees when they are cut down and brought into our homes, we can get a reaction from them because of the molds they carry. I actually years ago went to an allergist, and it was probably around this time of year. He was saying my biggest problem were the trees and the molds that were located in certain species of the trees in the spot where I was living. And I remember having a chat with a girlfriend of mine as well, and it was actually about Christmas trees. And she said, do you know there are so many molds attached to trees and pine trees that you might want to think twice about bringing a live one into your house. Mold actually can grow on all of your Christmas trees, not only the real ones, the live ones, but also even your fake ones. So let's dive into that a little bit more. I'm actually excited about being able to share this information with you because it is mind-blowing how much mold can actually be produced on a Christmas tree. And it helps answer, why was I sick every year, especially around that darn Christmas tree growing up? Each year, Americans buy approximately 25 to 30 million live Christmas trees to decorate their homes annually. That's a lot of trees. About 85% of those trees are going to be pre-cut and typically before Thanksgiving. Trees are cut, they're baled, and then packed into refrigerated trucks and then delivered to a tree seller near your home. Moisture and the tight bundling on top of being inside of that refrigeration, that cold, it's then bought, taken into your home where you have heat, likely some condensation in the air, and that makes a perfect environment for mold to grow from the time it was cut up until the time that you set it up in your house. And then once it's in that perfect environment, the mold spores begin to grow and reproduce, and then it can trigger an allergic reaction. Allergists actually have a name for that. That's called the Christmas tree syndrome. About 7% of the general population with allergies, they suffer from Christmas tree allergy symptoms. And these include, let me read them to you: sneezing, coughing, congestion, runny nose and throat, itchy and watery eyes, and dry and scaly skin. In one study, researchers closely measured mold counts in a room that contained a live Christmas tree once it was set up. During the first 3 days that the tree was indoors, the count of the mold spores in the air was at 800 spores per cubic meter of air. Starting on the 4th day, however, the spore counts began rising and met the 5,000 mold spore in the air per cubic meter within 2 weeks. That was duplicated over 6 times. Remember, it originally started at 800, and then it just in by day 4, 5,000 mold spores. And it's considered that counts higher than 700 spores per cubic meter are an indication that mold growth is occurring in the environment. And the World Health Organization considers indoor concentrations greater than 500 spores per cubic meter to be unacceptable. Keep that in mind. Another thing they found is that researchers examining 23 samples of bark and pine needles from Christmas trees found 53 different kinds of molds. Let me say that again. Oi, this is some crazy research. Researchers examining 23 examples of bark and pine needles from Christmas trees found 53 different kinds of molds. So let's see what some of those are. Many of the mold varieties found on the trees were those most likely to trigger allergies, including 3 of them. Aspergillus. This type of mold is especially dangerous for individuals with compromised immune systems, like mine, who have the mold illness or CIRS, chronic inflammatory response syndrome. Another mold is penicillium. This mold is from which penicillin is made. It causes allergic reactions in some people. And then cladosporium is another type of mold. It's a common mold that can cause skin infections and allergic symptoms. They say that at the very least, the elevated mold spore level associated with live Christmas trees means that families with allergies should consider keeping a live tree indoor no more than a few days, especially if there are signs of increased allergies, which might be from the Christmas tree syndrome. And also a note is pine pollen can also be found on your Christmas tree. They say it's not a major issue because the evergreen plants pollinate in the spring and not in early winter, but trees can come in contact with allergens such as ragweed pollen, and it may carry it into the house, and then it can distress the person who has ragweed allergies. This information I'm getting is from IQ Air, a website that they have that's talking about the Christmas tree. Also another article I read on Reviewed is where I found some of this information. Both of them talk about a way of, if you're going to bring a Christmas tree, a live Christmas tree into your house, the way that you can treat it. I'm rolling my eyes because they say one way you could treat it before you bring it in is to use your leaf blower and just blow the mold off. Mold doesn't just blow off. So I'm not going to tell you that's how to deal with it. The other thing that they had suggested was you rinse your tree with a solution of vinegar and water. I'm also not going to attest to that as well. Those of us with mold illness, I'm going to be honest, we should be avoiding bringing in a live tree, period. And especially a live Christmas tree, knowing this information. If you're going to bring it into the house, though, that is the suggestion is to wipe down with vinegar the trunk, as well as rinse it completely with a vinegar and water solution before it's brought into the house. The other tip, another source that said, is you might want to shake out your tree too. If you are going to bring it in, shake it out because you don't want the pests coming in. Slugs, spiders, bugs, you name it. You know, these trees have been growing outdoors, and those who cut it down don't go cleaning them and shaking them and doing all those things. So the big thing is you're going to bring it in 3 to 7 days maximum of having that in your house before that mold explodes, is what they say. I'm saying quote unquote, that's what they say. But I'd rather be on the safe end of it and just not bring it in. Now, the other idea is you could have a fake tree, but guess what? Artificial trees, they're also susceptible to mold. Can you believe it? Who'd have thunk? Yeah, artificial trees can also have mold grow on them if they are sitting in a humid location while they are being stored. You could be buying a tree from the store that already has mold on it based on where that tree and where that box that the tree is in was stored. Some warehouses are not controlled. You want to keep the temperature and your humidity controlled. And you can't guarantee that with the products that you're bringing into your house, even that are in boxes or that are an artificial tree, etc. So you don't even know where it's coming from. Same thing from a live tree. You don't know how it was packed, transported, if the mold spores were already beginning to multiply because of the time of when it was cut to the time that it was sitting on the lot. And also with your artificial tree, say you've had it and you've already put it up for a year, you know, you put it up for one Christmas, you stored it away, you put it away, but you put it in a place that does not have the temperature or humidity control, like up in an attic or in a basement or in a garage. it's susceptible. It is susceptible to mold again. So bringing in your artificial tree from storage, be sure to shake that out also. Make sure you dust it off. And even another suggestion I would throw in there is get it in the tub and give it a bath. Wash it with a vinegar and water solution. And then you make sure it fully dries. Dry that off with a towel, and then you need to make sure it air dries before you set it up. Obviously, you don't want to be mixing electrical cords with a wet tree, but those of us with this mold allergy, we have to do the extra steps of taking care of our Christmas trees. So once that is set up, you've enjoyed it. When you're done with it, consider washing it, dusting it, washing it, and thoroughly drying it before you store it. The other idea is, instead of keeping it, you do what I did. Every year, I just start over because we had to get rid of everything from black mold and had to flee from that home and start completely over. And when I say start completely over, it was completely start over. So we could not bring any of our Christmas keepsakes. We could not bring in the Christmas tree, none of that. So we started over. And I think the first year I decided to just buy some lights, and I strung them up from a window, from the top of the window, and just made a little tree out of the lights in the window. The next year, I think I bought a $10 or $15 tinsel tree that was able to be pulled up from its base and hook on a little stick. And it was like 3 or 4 feet tall. It only cost me $15 at the end of Christmas. It went and got donated. So we have not a huge living room, so I wanted to save space. So I thought, let's make a Christmas tree off the wall. So I bought some command hooks, some clear ones. And I bought some green tulle, and then I made the shape of a tree, and then I filled it in and then decorated it with bulbs. The next year, I did a mini fake tree that was in a planter. Then I bought a tin, this one here that says Farm Fresh Christmas trees on it. And I put a box on the inside of this. I've got other things in here, but I filled it with a box and then covered it with a red, just a red dishcloth, put the tree on top of that box, and then it gave it an extra foot of height. But then I put that on like a little TV stand out in the living room. And that was like an $8 tree, decorated that little thing. So each year I've done something a little different. And when done, I donate it. I'll give the supplies to someone or to a donation bin, you know? So those are some ideas. Oh, and I forgot. One year, long time ago, we had a very small living room and decided, you know, I wanted to do the real tree thing, but I knew I couldn't bring it into the house. So we decorated one outside. We put one on our deck, but actually the wind was blowing the trees at our park really bad. And a lot of the tree limbs had fallen down. And so I started cleaning those up. And then I just wired them to a pole on our deck and created a Christmas tree shape and put the trees around that. And we looked at it out our huge big door, sliding glass door that we can go in and out of. So it was an outdoor live tree, quote unquote. And that's how we did our tree one year. Anyway, I'm just bringing this information to you because I want you to be well for this holiday. And I really want you to be educated on the whole Christmas tree thing, because I was shocked when a friend of mine mentioned, you know, there's mold in trees. I'm like, what? So I've got my education, put the pieces together. Not a good idea for those of us with mold illness to bring that in. And also not a good idea for those of you with allergies. So consider some alternatives. Happy holidays. Remember, we can be well, even while ill, and we can make wise choices for ourselves and our family. You take care.